Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 209. So we want to try something different. One of the news topics we'll talk about today is the Academy Award nominations, which honestly, this year they got a lot more right than they got wrong, which is not something I can normally say. But a lot of times, what people consider to be the best movie of the year is very rarely what ever actually wins Best Picture. So I've always kind of had this thought in the back of my mind of, what's the best movie every year that I've been alive? Not what won the Academy Award that year. Rational thoughts of people. What was the best movie of every year that I've been alive? Just like who won the World Series every year I've been alive, or what was the top-selling artist of the year? I was like, whatever. So Josh and I are going to start a new series, and then, take a break whenever James Gunn decides to announce the DC lineup. If at all. He keeps saying it's going to come in January, but running out of days here, James. But we're going to look at each decade and find the best movie of every year in that decade. Not our favorite, but what we think is the best movie that came out that year. So we're going to start with the 90s because that was the year Josh and I started living.
What? No way!
Yeah, his 30s just chasing all of us down like a predator. Just
some of us are already in our 30s.
Yeah, I have a few more months of blissful ignorance. But yeah, we're going to be covering the top 10 greatest movies of the 90s, one from each year, and then we're also going to kind of look back at the other movies to kind of compare of, like, was this a good year for movies like 1999 or not as good year for movies like 1995? But Josh, how you doing tonight?
I'm chilling like a villain, my dude. It's always fun because, like, for just a little behind the scenes, I can't always film in my room just because, like, my quote unquote room is the front room of the house. So the longer we do this, the more stuff I accumulate. Like, I've got a mic coming, I've got a light that I've got to move. Like, it's getting up here to get going is always funny, just because it's like I walk up with like 3 trips of armfuls of stuff.
Yeah, I someday I want to have, I have a dedicated filming space here. I would love a dedicated, like, actual office that I could just put stuff and leave stuff and not have to set stuff up every week. But small goals. Josh, are you watching anything good this past week?
This past week was actually a really good week for me to watch stuff outside of The Last of Us episode part 2,
which we'll talk about.
So good. I actually watched a lot this week. I finally sat down and watched I'm gonna mispronounce the last word, but Banshees of Inisherin. It's an Oscars movie. I can see that. I could totally see it's very well acted. It's a very beautiful movie. Nothing particularly interesting.
Except when it gets very interesting with
it's so wild. Like, I'm not quite, I might want to rewatch it or something, but I still don't know quite how I feel about it, because I didn't hate it, but I definitely didn't like love it either. It's very interesting. It's definitely worth the watch, I think, for anybody out there. I found out that my younger brother hadn't seen Robin Hood Men in Tights yet. So I was like, obviously I have to show him that. I know. Blinken was his favorite character, and I was like, yeah.
Well, that's because Blinken is the best character.
I had to pause it when it got to the marriage scene, and Patrick Stewart comes out of nowhere, and he's like, wait, what is this? What is this?
Because they couldn't get Sean Connery.
Yeah, exactly. And then my dad had never seen, and this was very ironic, actually, because I didn't know what the playoff picture for the NFL was going to be at the time. But my dad and I watched Invincible because he'd never seen Invincible.
Underrated.
Such a good movie. And the final game in that movie is the Eagles versus Giants, who, the Eagles whooped up on the Giants again.
The Giants played this past weekend?
Yeah, they were in the divisional round against the Eagles.
They played this past weekend? They got off the plane?
Good point. And then I finally watched Barbarian this week.
How much did you know about it going into it?
Nothing. I knew zero. So when they kept switching timelines, I was like, whoa, 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 what is happening in this movie? It's very good. I love. I won't say that it was like. I want to say it might be the best horror movie of last year, but that's also because not a lot of
Smile is so good.
that's fair. I haven't seen Smile yet, but also not a lot of horror came out last year.
A
I'm gonna take
lot of
that back.
horror
Actually,
came out. You just didn't
now
see
that I
it,
say that out
apparently.
loud, it's cool. It was unique. Um, also not unique at the same time, but like it works. Sure, why not? It does kind of try to like throw some twists in there where you kind of expect them, but then also it's hard to describe. It's okay. It's a solid 8 out of 10. You'll get spooked at times. There's especially like I think spoiler alert because I forgot to tell you that that like my thoughts on it. Um, I think the first 15-20 minutes, that whole section with Skarsgård is my favorite part of the entire movie because you don't know if you go into the movie blind, you do not know what is about to happen. And I love that the movie gives him every opportunity to feel like to the audience like he's going to be the villain.
Because they
But then
cast
like
Bill Skarsgård.
they do, but like at the same time like build as his character gives us every reason to not think it's him. So you're like, I don't know what to feel. This is so wild. It's good. And then of course, what happens to him. And then it's like, okay, well, now I have no idea.
And then
This might be
also,
the first Justin Long movie in a while that he doesn't get disfigured.
did you finish the movie?
I mean, he gets okay, yes, he gets quote unquote disfigured, but not like he does in like Jeepers
Tusk.
Creepers or Wall or Tusk.
To which I joke with one of my coworkers at work who also saw Barbarian. We're just like, you can make a whole subgenre of movies of effed up stuff that happens to Justin Long specifically
Yeah.
and no one else. Tusk, Jeepers Creepers, Barbarian.
Yeah.
Like, he's got this weird subgenre for himself.
He does.
Yeah, Barbarian it's a trip. I won't say it was like my favorite horror movie of last year, but that's one of those like I think Barbarian we would have looked back more fondly on had we watched it together with a group of friends in college. That seems like
Agreed.
a watch it with your buddies in college who all know nothing about it type of thing.
Yeah.
And you all go,
Yeah.
what the F together type of thing. I watched quite a bit. Heather and I, it's taken us long enough. I gotta go back and figure out like when we actually started this. But Heather and I finished all 10 seasons of Smallville. So
Oh no.
I will do an actual video about it at some point. But if there's one word I'd use to describe Smallville, it is wonderfully inconsistent. That's 2 words, but still wonderfully inconsistent. When it hits, it's really, really great and way better than it has any right to be. But it is not consistent at all from episode to episode. The highs are amazing. Like the first season when he meets the cancer kid that has cancer because of his superpowers, but he still uses the powers anyway.
Yeah.
I went into it knowing a lot of people hated the finale. They're like, you don't even see Tom Welling in the Superman suit. I'm going, guys, I think you missed the point. The point is not about being Superman. Yes, that was like the end goal, but the whole point is Clark accepting that responsibility. You have to be invested in Clark. And what I think is cool about Smallville is, yeah, it's Clark's origin story, but you can also see as time progresses, Tom Welling, the actor, growing and maturing. Like he starts off as a like very timid and introverted actor who's does not have a lot of range, and I poke fun at him quite a bit in the early seasons for not being able to emote all that much. But as the show progresses, when we get to the final season and Lois convinces him that if everyone's up in the sky focusing on Superman, they can't be paying attention to the man on the ground with the glasses. You have to, you've got to hunch, you've got to wear glasses. So when he starts pretending to be the bumbling guy, I had a big old goofy grin on my face of, holy crap, you are nailing this. And like, yeah, the finale is great when he finally becomes Superman. But the moment that actually made me lose it more of like, holy crap. One, because the episode was actually directed by Tom Welling, and he was the one person I thought had an aversion to comic book stuff more than anything else. But something's going down. and he already has his like quasi Superman suit. It's more or less just like a red leather jacket with an S on it. But
Of
he's in his
course.
street clothes, and he sees a phone booth, and then you get the dun 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 dun, dun and he goes, and they actually do, for the only time on the show that I can think of, they do the Superman quick change in the phone booth. I'm going, ha! You guys actually decided to do it. If they did what they did for the final season, which is actually embrace the comic book material more, I think it would have been better. Because in the last season, never would have guessed this, Josh, they had Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle in the final season. And for 2010, the effects aren't too bad. Blue Beetle was in the same episode as Booster Gold.
Okay.
And honestly,
I'm not against that.
Hawkman is way better than he has any right to be. I really, really enjoyed Hawkman's performance. He and Green Arrow actually have a whole bunch of like, we're forced to be together on stuff and work together, and it's really, really entertaining.
Love it.
But yeah, I really enjoyed Smallville. I would buy the box set if it was cheap enough. But the thing is, it is so inconsistent. There's stuff that I like, performances that I really like, and other times I'm just like, oof, you have 22 episodes a season, and you don't know what to do for a couple of these. Like, you're really stretching some stuff out. Also, I didn't know this. I knew like bits and pieces of information about the show going into it. But I knew at the end he would get the Superman suit. It's more or less what he has in Superman Returns. I love the little detail that his mom makes the suit for him. I will always love when that happens. I'm just like, it's a little detail that we need to bring back, please. I will always give Smallville a pass, though, because so many people will compare it to like Arrow or The Flash or any of the current Marvel stuff. I'm going, the show started in 2001, the same era as Bryan Singer's X-Men movie. The superhero landscape, both TV and film-wise, was so drastically different. It's why they lean so heavily on the Christopher Reeve Superman, is because at that time, it was the only Superman out there.
Yeah, there wasn't much else going on.
Like, I get why in the earlier season they were hesitant to do comic book material, just because even the X-Men movies were hesitant to do comic book material. They make the joke about, like, what you want us to wear? Yellow spandex? So in that sense, I get why over time they did more comic book stuff. They had the Justice Society show up for multiple episodes, which was amazeballs. It was great. Overall, it was flawed, but I'm glad I watched it. I also rewatched the first Mission Impossible again because it had been years since I've seen it, and Heather hadn't seen it at all. Oof, it's different than the newer ones. I'll say that. It focuses much more on the paranoia and Dutch angles. I'm going, stop tilting it. I get what you're going for here, Brian De Palma, but it is a little annoying. And also, Brian De Palma really loves to split diopter shots, which is you have someone super close to the camera and super far away from the camera, and they're both in focus. I'm just like, that's cool. Stop doing it so much. He does it like 10 or so times. I'm just like, it was cool the first time, but and then also, of course, watched episode 2 of The Last of Us.
Dude,
I really enjoyed the first episode, but the first episode has nothing on episode 2. Like, oh my god, episode 2 is genuinely the greatest adaptation of any video game material ever, but also elevating the material. Like, you used lines of dialogue from the game. But let's be honest, that's not the takeaway from this episode. The takeaway from this episode is what I texted Josh. F the clickers! The clickers absolutely are genuinely the worst thing I've ever. I hate and love at the same time that they absolutely nailed the clicker sound design. It's no.
Dude, it's so good. It was, on one hand, it's kind of hard to watch it sometimes just because, like, in my head, as soon as they entered that room, I went, I remember this mission. I know this level. Fantastic. I love the behind the scenes stuff at the end of every episode. It just helps me appreciate more what they're doing. I love the little changes to elevate the material, like the idea that it is a fungus, and so it's stretching out, and you just by stepping on a very particular piece of infected material, you can alert hordes going to farther a mile away or whatever. So terrifying. I genuinely really liked it. I enjoy I think if I was to pick something like my quote unquote favorite thing from that episode, um, I love that, and I feel terrible because I'm blanking on her name. Tess, there it is.
Tess.
I love that Tess is around for this episode. I love that she in comparison to what happens in the video game, I love that she is around for the events of
She's
this section.
around the same amount of time as the game, I think.
A little bit, but I'm trying to remember. I don't remember her sacrificing her son.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been a long
They
time.
did change it, but I think they changed it for the
Yeah.
better. In the game, she's shot down by Fedra agents that
Mm,
just were following Joel, Ellie, and Tess. Whereas this, it was something else. And I'm going, I kind of like this change better. I know some people didn't, but I'm just like, I think this change works for the better. I liked the intro to this episode, kind of giving you backstory to the fungus while not fully explaining it. I like that it's not like an airborne toxin, it's something with
yes.
flour. Like, we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Except for those
Yeah.
gluten-free people. They're gonna be okay. Um I think
Yeah.
my favorite part of it is after the museum scene, and I could, unclench my butt with the clickers. And it was they get outside and you get the classic dialogue from the game of, well, the outside world all you thought it was cracked up to be? Well,
Yep.
jury's still out, but so far so good. And then she like walks across the thing, and Joel like kind of looks down at his watch really briefly, and you're just like, "It's perfect. How did you screw
It
up
is.
Uncharted?"
Yeah. It is genuinely, it just keeps getting better and better and better. There's always going to be people that are not big fans of the changes. I've already seen the people kind of going after the girl that plays Ellie.
She's
Like
great.
stuff. She's fantastic. I love her. Um, I think the thing for those who are hesitant about her, I think the thing to keep in mind is I do think they are playing her as in the whole version of her over both games, as opposed to just the version that you get in the beginning of the first game. Which I
Yeah,
think is the right thing to do. Is the smart thing to do.
give her
Is
more
like you,
episodes.
yeah,
Ellie opened up to Joel and was more snarky as time went on. Like she was always sassy, but like she talks to Joel more and interacts with him more as you
yes,
play more, and they get more comfortable with each other. So, spoiler alert, now that it's just the two of them, you should be getting more of that sass. Like I just need the scene from the game after they go to Bill's and they're just in the car and she like steals the magazine or whatnot. Bye bye, dude. And he's like, that tape is actually from before my time. Like I need that. I cannot wait for that scene. This show is just
it's
oh.
so good.
Also, it was Neil Druckmann's directorial debut, which I'm just going,
No way.
yeah. The guy that directed Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us. This was his like TV directorial debut. And I'm going,
That's crazy.
this was your debut, dude? Okay, it's a lot better of a debut than Dave Filoni with The Mandalorian. I'll give him that.
Poor guy. Yeah, I think it's interesting too that he's coming from video games too, because I think that definitely would help, especially in a television aspect, because you're used to kind of like telling stories in a segmented like kind of format already, in the idea of like from level to level kind of thing. So it, to me, it makes absolute sense that that would work from going from games to TV. I'm just enjoying the show quite a bit, and I'm really excited to see where we go from here.
Well, we got a kind of a random assortment of news this week, but kicking us off is the big one. The Academy Awards dropped the full list of their nominations. They had a show on Disney Plus, which I thought was super weird. Josh, because you know this, it's going on ABC is my best guess, I'd imagine, right? If
The
they're
what?
Yeah, because Josh is so invested in the Academy Awards here.
Yeah,
But yeah, for some reason they like live stream all the nominations on Disney Plus, and I gotta be honest, compared to years past, I agree with more of these picks than previously, but there's still some stuff that I have some question marks about. So let's break this all down. I'll start at the bottom and work our way up to keep you guys in some form of suspense. Best sound. All Quiet on the Western Front, which apparently I need to see this because All Quiet on the Western Front got nominated for a bunch of stuff. I think it's on Netflix. Best Sound. All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, Top Gun: Maverick. Okay,
cool.
I agree with these.
Yeah.
It won't but it should be either the Batman or Top Gun Maverick. Preferably the Batman, just because I think that has
Agreed.
good sound design. This is the category, actually, above all else, that I'm the most pissed about and go, oh, you done goofed. You dropped the ball on this one. Best Original Score. They nominated All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fablesman. And I'm going, again, The Batman and Top Gun Maverick. I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but both of those genuinely, I think, are some of the best scores, not just of this year, but I've ever heard. Like, Maverick's score is incredible, but Michael Giacchino's work for The Batman didn't get as much love as I thought it deserved, and I think that's maybe just the Academy didn't pay attention to it. They're just like, hey, it's a superhero movie. And
I mean, that's definitely a theme here, though.
Which isn't surprising. Best makeup and
Yes.
hairstyling, All Quiet on the Western Front, again. The Batman, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. This is another one that I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a close race, I think. Because, yeah, Josh and I have talked ad nauseum about how good Colin Farrell looks as Penguin in The Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not sleep on how good Brendan Fraser looks in The Whale with that prosthetic suit that he's wearing. But also in the little clips that I've seen of Austin Butler and Elvis, the prosthetics that he wears for the later stages of Elvis's life looks pretty good as well.
Yeah.
So, again, I haven't seen All Quiet on the Western Front. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I could see that more for like costume design than makeup and hairstyling.
Yeah, agreed.
But I would say either The Whale or Elvis on that one. Unfortunately, not the Batman. Best live action short. Okay. Best costume design. Babylon, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Anybody?
No clue what that is. No clue.
Bueller. I feel like that one's probably going to Babylon just because Hollywood loves them some movies about movies, don't they? The Fablesmans.
Yeah.
Best animated short film. Okay. Best animated feature film. I'm a little surprised by this. I'm not gonna lie. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Darn you, Puss in Boots. The Sea Beast and Turning Red. I say darn you because I hate the first Puss in Boots with a Fiery Passion, and supposedly the second one is like really good. I'm just going.
Apparently, it's a banger. Yeah.
Going, what the heck, guys? Did you get an entirely different team? This has to be one of the most obvious ones in the world here. It's got to be Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, right? Like,
to me, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen. Let's see. I haven't seen Sea Beast, Puss in Boots, or really, technically, I haven't seen Turning Red either.
But you've seen Marcel the Shell?
No. Oh, so I've only seen Pinocchio. All right, cool. All right.
You're like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But no, like if you guys have seen Pinocchio, it's really good. I love the changes that they make to it. It's typical Del Toro, honestly. So I wouldn't be surprised if he walks away with it. But like I wouldn't necessarily. I think the key here is, I think Sea Beast and Turning Red are in this just as much as like Puss in Boots is. So I wouldn't be surprised if Pinocchio doesn't get it, but I guess we'll find out, you know.
Yeah, I think the money's still on Pinocchio just because that got so much fervor. Best visual effects, once again, All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun Maverick. There's a who I would like to win and who will definitely win it. Who I would like to win is The Batman, just because of creating such a distinct aesthetic and camera work is beautiful. Who will win it is Avatar. There's no way it's not, because James Cameron has been so vocal about, I have given up my career so that I can make this movie over the span of a decade and a half.
Yeah, okay.
Notice me, senpai. We're going, you're $2 billion. We noticed you, unfortunately. Best production design. Guess what? All Quiet on the Western Front. God. Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fablesman. Babylon or Elvis is my prediction. Hollywood, again, loves those movies and production designs about movies. So, I don't know. Okay. Best original song. Applause from Tell It Like a Woman. Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick. Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Natu from, is it RRR or Triple R? I'm trying to
It's just RRR as far as
Okay,
I'm aware.
RRR. And This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I would like to say it'd be Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, because that's a banger. But I think the Academy might go with Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I think there's more sentimentality there that might lean it. But This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere is, hauntingly beautiful. So I'd still say Lift Me Up is probably the best bet there. International film, whatever. Best film editing. I think this also is a pretty clear-cut winner here. The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. I think it's got to be Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I would agree. I'd be surprised if it isn't, honestly. I think there's too much, like Top Gun Maverick, very well shot, very well edited. Sure, okay. Banshees of Inisherin, kind of the same. It's well shot, looks good.
It's competently edited, not like wow.
Yeah. But that's also because there's not a lot going on in the scenes that they're shooting. But like Everything All at Once, masterful. Absolutely.
I think so much of what works with Everything Everywhere is how it's edited together, and how, like, with the multiverse concept, it could be so easy to confuse your audiences, but the way that they edit it and portray stuff visually on screen helps guide the audience so much, despite the fact that you're weaving in and out of universes and timelines throughout. You're flowed through the story so smoothly. It's got to be Everything Everywhere for me, but knowing the Academy, they'll probably say no. Again, I have some issues with this. Best cinematography. All Quiet on the Western Front. Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths. Elvis, Empire of Light, which apparently was done by Roger Deakins, so that's impressive. And Tar. Again, I'm gonna beat this dead horse. The Batman and Top Gun Maverick. The Batman has one of the most interesting, like, visually striking, like, just overall tones I've ever seen for a superhero movie. Of the shots in that are gorgeous. It's almost like if Zack Snyder knew what a good story was. And Top Gun Maverick, like, Top Gun Maverick basically created special camera rigs just for its shots. Like, if cinematography is about telling your story in a good creative way, but also being fully immersed in the story, I don't think any movie did it better than Top Gun Maverick this year. Like, you are genuinely in the cockpit, and the camera work in Maverick is competent when it comes to the ground stuff, but the aerial dogfights are the likes of which we've never seen before. And I'm still just like, okay, whatever. Best original screenplay: The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablesmans, Tar, Triangle of Sadness. I think we're in for an upset here. I would like to think it'll be Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I'm gonna give the nod to The Fablesmans because Hollywood loves movies about movies, and the fact that Steven Spielberg created this semi-autobiographical movie about his life and his love of movies, I think it will get some form of love or recognition, and I would not be surprised if this is the bone that it gets tossed of, like, best original screenplay.
Because Banshees isn't gonna get it, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, there's nothing real special about Banshees.
No, and that's why I think I got a little frustrated maybe with it, because like maybe it was like saying that it was a great comedy or something like that, and I don't see that at all. And I don't know. I maybe my expectations were high for Banshees, and I'm just bitter. But
I will say, because I forgot to mention this in what we're watching, the director of Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh, I believe is the guy's name, also did another movie with Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell called In Bruges, and I think you would like that a lot better. That is a dark comedy of two hitmen are sent to Bruges to basically lay low until the next assignment, except Bruges is like the most boring place in the world, and Colin Farrell's having this existential crisis. He's like, I don't want to die here in effing Bruges. Like, what am I doing with my life?
I would
It's
love, yeah. See and that's what I think. There's a lot of things about Banshees that are like very intriguing in concept. Seeing a guy who was like one of the Eternals be an incredibly interesting character is was really really wild too. But yeah, I you'll have to show me where to find that because like I've that sounds like a movie that's
that's
very
your more
funny to
speed.
me. Yeah.
Then best adapted screenplay. Once again, All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, and Knives Out Mystery, which I don't know what makes that an adapted screenplay over an original screenplay because it's not based off anything else, but whatever. Living, Top Gun Maverick. Again, I thought that was an original concept, but whatever. And Women Talking. Uh, All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't see them giving it to Glass Onion.
Yeah.
Um, I don't see
Yeah.
them giving it to Top Gun. As great as
The
that would
only
be.
thing I can think of for Glass Onion and Maverick is that they've adapted the material from the originals to
Yeah, that's kind
make
of what I was wondering
another
too.
film. That's the only thing I can think of though. But like for that alone, I can see them giving it to All Quiet on the Western Front.
Then best supporting actress, we have Angela Bassett from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Hong
Okay.
Chow from The Whale, Carrie Condon from The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis from Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Stephanie Sue from Everything Everywhere All at Once. So the fact that
Mm.
we get two people from Everything Everywhere, I say this as a big fan of her work. I don't know if I would have nominated Jamie Lee Curtis. Stephanie, absolutely. She was one of the emotional cores of Everything Everywhere. Jamie Lee Curtis was great, but I feel like you're just taking somebody else's slot here. Like she's great.
Like Sadie Sink from The Whale. Come on, man. I say this. I say that though, as I haven't seen The Whale yet, so I need. But like at the same time, it's like okay, I guess sure. I mean, I love Jamie as much as you do, but like,
But hey, more than anything,
yeah.
this is Jamie Lee Curtis's first Academy Award nomination, so I'm just going, okay.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So I'm just going,
Yeah, okay.
because my circle, my followings on Twitter, people were pointing out, oh yeah, is this like the first time that somebody that's been on the cover of a Fangoria magazine has been nominated for an Academy Award? And I'm going, that's what we're here to care about. Were you on the cover of a horror magazine? Vindication for Halloween Ends.
Mhm.
Then Best Supporting Actor, Brendan Gleeson, The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry from Causeway, Judd Hirsch from The Fablesman, Barry Keoghan from The Banshees of Inisherin, and Kehu Kwan from Everything Everywhere All at Once. God, it better be K. If it is not, there's one other category that it better go to a very specific individual, or we will raise all the hell in the world. But no, this is the other category that if K does not win for Everything Everywhere, y'all are blind because this man wore his heart on his sleeve, and I just wanted to hug this man. It is one of the greatest performances I have ever seen in a movie. He is so good, and you don't take this away from Short Round.
Yeah, no, I can't. Like, there's nothing I can add to that because he's so stinking good. This is gonna feel like a rabbit trail, but it's not. I promise. There's a YouTube channel I've been watching a lot of that been sending Nate quite a bit of the cinema therapy videos. They're very interesting videos and I love them. But they did a breakdown recently of everything everywhere all at once, and like to hear them praise K Huquan is like, oh, it's so he's like, guys, he literally goes from like goofy to literally the coolest man on the planet.
He beat someone up with a fanny pack.
Well, but like also, but not even just that, like the martial artist, but like he's like specifically talking about the scene where he is is in the reality where she's a martial arts star or whatever, and he's just like this coolest guy or whatever. Literally his scene talking about how he fights is one of my favorite scenes this year of this past year, because like just like god, he's so good. It is so unfortunate that we've been cheated, that we did not have him for so many years, and I hope that honestly, I hope if that he wins. And if he doesn't, I hope we get another 15, 20 years of him actually getting to do work and then making it so you can't deny this man.
So, don't forget, Josh, he is going to be in Loki season 2
That is, yeah. So
because Kevin
we'll
Feige
see what
saw
happens.
everything everywhere. He's like, we need to get this man a job as soon as humanly possible. I'm going, good job, Kevin. Now fix your universe. Best lead actress, we have Kate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fablesman, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I want it to be Michelle, but I have a fear
Yeah,
that it might go to
absolutely.
Kate Blanchett, of just because of
I
all
agree.
everything we've heard about Tar, and the Academy loves some Kate Blanchett. I love Kate Blanchett. She's a phenomenal actress. She was a great Hela too. Um, but you've got to give it to Michelle Yeoh. She is so good. She is asked to do so much in Everything Everywhere. I still think
Yeah.
Kay is the emotional heart of the movie, but Michelle Yeoh, it relies just as much on her shoulders as everyone else. She's so good in
Yeah.
it. Now
I
here's the
agree.
category. Y'all better get this right, Academy. Best lead actor. Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell, The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser, The Whale. Doesn't matter who else. It's Brendan. It is
Brendan.
Brendan. Gosh dang it. Looking at this list, literally any other year, anybody could win. Austin Butler, I haven't seen Elvis, but I've heard great things about his performance. Some shaky things about the movie, but his performance is great. I was kind of with Josh. Banshees of Inisherin is whatever, but Colin Farrell is great. I almost teared up. There's a scene with the pub of, would you rather be remembered for being good or actually remembered for making music? Like, actually have a legacy. And I'm just going, well, now I'm sad now. But Colin Farrell's so good. But guys, it is like the ultimate redemption story for crimes he did not even commit. Brendan Fraser needs to win for The Whale so that we can all collectively beautiful cry together at his acceptance speech, because mark my words, he'll be crying, we'll be crying, and we're all going to be okay with it because this man deserves a monumental career bounce back that he is projected to have. He better win. I think the Academy knows he better win, or all hell will be raised.
Well, but just like even just in comparison to the other performances that are in there for best actor, like you said, like Austin Butler, yeah, we hear good things about that performance. Colin Farrell's is good. I mean, it's Colin Farrell. We always know that we're going to get something good from him. And I have never heard of the other two, so it's like
Doesn't matter.
And I feel bad. Like, that's not a knock on them. I want to make sure that I say that that's not a knock on them. But like, this has got to be Brendan's year. He's been out for so long. He has been so good this year. I mean, for as long as we've known him, but ever since he started coming back on screen, I feel like it would be an absolute crime to not get it to him this year.
Now, this next one is going to be interesting. Best director, Martin McDonagh, The Banshees of Inisherin. The Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Steven Spielberg for The Fablesmans. Todd Field for Tar. And Ruben Ostlund for Triangle of Sadness. Again, I want to give it to the Daniels for Everything Everywhere. But I think the Academy's just going to go, well, let's be realistic, guys. We don't know how many more Spielberg movies we're going to get. Let's give him the awards while we still can. It's a movie about movies. Like, so long as the Academy still has that stigma of, man, we love when people make movies about us. Like, I love seeing all the jokes that, shocker, Nope, a movie that shows that Hollywood eventually corrupts and turns people bad over time, didn't get nominated for anything. Going, yeah, shocker there. I want to say the Daniels. When I'm putting,
I do too.
I want to put money. I'd put more money on Spielberg, or Martin McDonagh for Banshees. Hollywood really loves subdued performances for some reason, which takes us to a final category of the night: Best Picture. Once again, All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablesmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. Oh boy. Oh, honestly,
I don't know, man. I really don't. I mean, I can see Fableman's winning because it's the Academy. Maverick, I would be surprised if it doesn't win. Everything All at
I would be
Once.
surprised if Maverick does win, actually.
Really? Why is that?
Because the Academy doesn't like mainstream movies. They really don't. Like, Hollywood very much prefers, like, the drama and the prestige of stuff. I think they're begrudgingly putting Top Gun Maverick here just because there's always, ever since the Academy expanded from 5 movies to 10 for Best Picture, they're like, all right, we'll throw the general audience at least 1 or 2 bones just because we might get their eyeballs for the show. We don't actually think they're art. I'm going, you didn't realize, as much as he's crazy, Tom Cruise did kind of save the box office this year when we really needed him to. Like, y'all can say that it's just a popcorn movie, but a popcorn movie that's done extremely well. But for people that like going to the movies so much, they kind of ignore the movies that keep them in business. Like, they, for some reason, don't like blockbusters as much, even though they need blockbusters to be able to support the art house movies that they love so much more. Yeah, I think Top Gun Maverick's not winning as much as I would love to see crazy Tom Cruise just jumping up and down on the stage, just running back and forth. He's mellowed out, but never forget the couch days, people.
I think the one that I don't think Way of Water will win.
No.
Elvis will probably not win. I really think this is probably going to end up being in between All Quiet on the Western Front, Fablesman, maybe Tar. I think those are the other shoe-ins there. Obviously, like, I would love Everything Everywhere All at Once. That is, I might go watch it tonight, just because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. But yeah, like, it's, I think it's interesting too that, and I just always want to say this, the amount of snubs that were, even though they expanded the list a lot this year, and for the most part, I agree with the lists for them this year. It's still interesting to see how not diverse it still is.
True. But that's the Academy for you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this next story, I have so many questions. It's like Trixie from Toy Story 3. I have some questions. Actually, I have all the questions for this. Supposedly, Antoine Fuqua, who did The Equalizer, the most recent Magnificent Seven, a really great, prestigious director, his next project will be doing a Michael Jackson biopic. I'm just going, oh, I have so many questions right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so many. Like, say what you want about the man himself, but he was quite controversial with
Yeah.
there were some things that, whether you believe he did them or whether you didn't or think he didn't, you're gonna piss off half the people that might see this movie either way. Putting that aside, who are you going to cast for this? Because
yeah.
Michael had quite drastic appearance changes over time. So, like, if I'm an actor, cool. But this is a project that I'm going to stay way away from just because it's a hefty project, to say the least. It's
Yeah. I and to say that they're going to be shooting soon is crazy too, because that means that the script is done, everything else is done, whatever. But like you said, like, there's a lot of details about Michael's life that are very, how do you say this in a kind way? There's not going to be a lot of ways that you can skirt this under the rug. You're going to have to deal with a lot of the really big, very public issues that kind of he had to deal with, whether you believe that they happened or not. It's going to be very interesting to see how sanitized this is gonna end up being.
And here's the
Um,
problem. It's
yeah,
going to be sanitized because this is going to be written
yes,
by the same guy that wrote Bohemian Rhapsody. And I'm going,
yes.
oh no. Because while Bohemian Rhapsody is fine, I have always maintained that a true Freddie Mercury / Queen biopic needed to be a hard R rated Wolf of Wall Street / Babylon style movie, because that's actually what Freddie Mercury was. Like, he was the quintessential rock star. Like, and then you really, really sugarcoated it. And I'm worried, and I'm pretty confident saying they will do the exact same thing again for
Oh
this.
yeah, oh yeah. Which is, I don't think that's fair. I think that's I think as a if I was a Michael Jackson fan, which I've never really been that big of a fan of his music, but that's personal taste. Um, I I would question. I feel like even fans would question a very sanitized version of this, because it's like, well, yeah, but like we're aware of everything that happened, so like you're just gonna skip over that. Okay, so I don't know what to expect. I think the fact that it is going to be so sanitized is kind of heartbreaking in a way. Uh, but I guess we'll find. We'll wait and see. I don't know.
Like, it's this doesn't surprise me that this is happening. It doesn't, because besides Elvis, Michael Jackson is probably the most recognizable name in all of music history, for the most part. Like, I taught at Boys and Girls Club for a little bit, and 90% of those kids didn't know who it was, and it made me feel very sad and very old.
Yeah.
Um, but by and large, Michael Jackson is one of the biggest names in music history. So it's surprising that we haven't gotten a biopic sooner. But at the same time, with everything that happened in their lives, I understand why. Um,
Yeah.
if I had to make a biopic about Michael Jackson, first of all, I don't know if I'd be up to the task, but I would hone it in more on the early days than the tail end things of, don't make it a Michael Jackson movie, make it a Jackson 5 movie back when they were kids and they had to deal with a very abusive father figure who more or less like forced them to churn out the music and
Yeah.
whatnot. Like, I think that's more a story to go with and might be easier to cast, because again, who are you going to cast with this movie? Because Michael Jackson notoriously does his start point and his end point look very, very different. Um,
Hmm.
Again, there's the whole allegations and everything else. I would be curious about this, but again, biopics do not have the best of reputations. Like, Bohemian Rhapsody played it incredibly safe, but then on the flip side, you go overly raunchy with a movie like Blonde with Ana de Armas, which, yes, she got nominated for it, but the rest of the movie got a whole bunch of Razzie nominations for being overly excessive and kind of exploitative to who Marilyn was, and just kind of portraying her as something a bit too grandiose and just doing it for the sheer shock value. I don't
Hmm.
think Antoine Fuqua would do something like that. Like I said, I really like him as a director. I like Equalizer. I believe he also did Training Day. Um, like Magnificent Seven. I like his movies. I think he's a really talented director. This is just a really uncomfortable and difficult task for anybody to pull off, and it just feels like an unnecessarily difficult project, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I have a feeling this is gonna be closer to The Dirt than Bohemian Rhapsody. For those that don't know, but The Dirt was that the Motley Crue biopic. And they while they did kind of show all of the exploits, all of the bad and good stuff with Motley Crue. They also, like, the really really bad stuff, they tended to just skirt over it, and I'm really nervous that that's what exactly what they're going to end up having to do. So we'll see what happens.
So speaking of unnecessarily difficult, Jared Leto's back in a movie, except this time it's Tron 3. And I feel like, I don't know about you, Josh, but I feel like we talked about this not that long ago on the podcast. Like, I feel like We've talked about Tron 3 before. Like, yeah, we're getting a Tron 3 with Jared Leto. But now Disney's like, no, no, no. We're serious this time. We're opening the new coaster and everything. And I'm going, if it's going to be
You
anything like the
say so.
coaster, we're in for a world of trouble. Just because, okay. Let me get on my soapbox here, y'all. Living in the greater Orlando area, Disney World has been advertising for genuinely 7 years that we're going to open this new Tron coaster. It's not a new coaster. It's literally copy and pasted from another Disney park overseas somewhere. So they already have the blueprints and materials and they just have to make that freaking thing. But it took them 7 years. And Disney will be like, well, we had COVID. Did that stop you from 2016 to 2020? It is a track outdoor coaster. And I think Disney's looking at this going, okay, we spent too much on the coaster. We need some brand synergy. We need to greenlight this new Tron movie quickly, please, because we need some brand recognition here. I joke, but I actually kind of suspect that might be the case of, okay, we just installed a new Tron coaster in the park. We need a new Tron movie to go with this new Tron coaster because everything in the park has to be tied to some movie somehow. The last movie came out in 2010. That's too long ago. We need a new Tron. People didn't like it and didn't see it, really? People will like this one. Get someone that people like. People like Jared Leto. Morbius is creating a lot of memes. People like memes. Let's make a new Tron with Morbius. Going, that's a great idea,
man.
guys.
Okay, to his credit, Jared Leto is not the problem with that movie. He is at the very least fairly convincing as Morbius. I mean,
Oh yeah,
he's an
I
incredible.
buy him as a bloodsucker.
Oh,
As a blood-sucking leech.
Stop it. He is, look, ever since his Joker, people like just love to crap all over him. I am not saying that he is a
You included. Don't wash your hands of this, Pontius.
No, he. I know what we all know. He's capable of the weird and like eccentric performances, and you know what? Sure, why not? I mean, de-aging Jeff Bridges wasn't going to save that second one, so like, you know what? Let's throw Jared Leto in there. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, what else do you want to do with this? Like, just whatever, sure.
Here's the harsh reality that Disney, as well as diehard Tron fans, don't want to admit, but I'll say it anyway. Tron is very, very similar to Blade Runner. It was groundbreaking and revolutionary for the world of entertainment and for sci-fi. But it didn't leave as much of a cultural impact as those diehard fans of that material seem to think it does. That way, when the movie got rebooted in the 2000s, those diehard fans went to see it, but general audiences didn't. Now, am I talking about Blade Runner 2049 or Tron Legacy? You decide. And now we're getting yet another one. We're getting Blade Runner 2099, and I still think that's not going to do well. And we're getting Tron Ares, and I'm going, y'all, I don't think you're learning the right lessons here. Like, I think there are good stories to tell in Tron, and I think it's super funny that the director of Tron Legacy is now the guy that did one of the movies nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, is your Top Gun Maverick, Joseph Kosinski, and I'm just like, how does this connect? Okay. Maybe he just needed Christopher McQuarrie to help rein in the story. I want to be excited for this because Tron Legacy was one of the movies that I was the most excited for actually ever. I think the Tron Legacy trailers are some of the best trailers that have ever come out. It looks slick, it looks stylish. And the movie happened and it is incredibly boring. I think there's enough potential in Tron, but you need a good story, and I don't think the first two really have that.
Agreed.
Tron, I think, both the original and Tron Legacy, it is very dense sci-fi. It is not casual sci-fi, and that is totally fine. Unless you're trying to market it for a broad audience, in which case the general population, you kind of have to dumb some stuff down. Like, my dad is a computer person before computers even existed. He was like a computer science person in college back in the 80s. He likes the first Tron. It's not his favorite, but like he could follow Tron because he knows the inner workings of computer technology. I'm just going, so there's a RAM and a GPU? Okay.
And I see you.
And there's bright colors. Cool. There's Pac-Man in the background. That's a cool little Easter egg there. But Tron is it's dense, and I think you need to kind of dumb it down. This might have to be a quasi reboot, I would think. And I know some Tron diehards will be upset about that, but I'm sure all 20 of them would get over it.
Yeah.
I'm coming out for blood today, apparently.
Yeah, you are. Because I mean, at the same, like, I agree with the only the kind of diehards went out to go see Blade Runner 2049. But I do think Blade Runner 2049 had more legs, as like, because people were like, oh, like this movie's actually pretty good. Everybody can watch it or whatever. I definitely think that Tron does not have that going for it necessarily. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Chalk this next news topic up to okay, but at the same time, me as a diehard old like film historian person, I am immediately interested in this. I just don't know if the general population will be interested in it. And that is that Rami Malek, everyone's favorite terrifying face, will be starring as Buster Keaton in a biopic series that'll be produced by Matt Reeves, the guy that did the Batman. I am 100% on board with this. One, I like early days of film stuff, like Universal Monsters. I like Hugo, I think is Martin Scorsese's best movie. I like learning about like that kind of weird origin of film. But also, as a big movie buff, I've always loved Buster Keaton, and I think more people need to be familiar with his legacy because I'm sure they brought it up many times on Corridor Crew that we've mentioned plenty of times here, but they brought it up before. Buster Keaton is essentially Hollywood's very first stunt man. Like, before there was Jackie Chan, before there was Donnie Yen, before there was Tom Cruise, there was Buster Keaton doing absolutely terrifying things back in the day of just going, oh, this man, like, has some dirt on death itself, that death won't come for him because he's doing such risky things. There's that, like, old school technique of you have a character stand on a box somewhere and the whole, like, side of a house falls on them, except they're standing in one spot where there's a window. That's a Buster Keaton gag. Or he's on the front of a train and he throws train tracks down as the train's going over it so that it doesn't derail or whatnot. Buster Keaton is like one of the OG generation movie stars. And he kind of has, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, he kind of has a weird face. That's why I think Rami Malek's perfect for this.
Yeah.
Josh, as someone that's more just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Does this show interest you at all?
I mean, Matt Reeves being involved definitely helps. I like him as a director. Rami's always a good actor, so like, why not? I'm looking at a side-by-side picture of them, and they look pretty similar. So it's fine. Sure, I can see this being a lot of fun. A lot of exploration of all of what he does bring to, you know, the film industry. I think it'll be interesting to see how far they go with it, if they go into his, but like Buster Keaton's past and stuff like that. I'll be curious if they go full biopic on this, or if they just kind of do like a hey, this is a Buster Keaton movie kind of thing. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'll be curious to see what the approach will be. But like, Matt Reeves is involved, Rami Malek is involved. I'm there, sure.
And I know some people are freaking out. They're just like, but Matt Reeves should be hard at work on the Batman. I'm just like, he is. He's working on the script. And not saying I'm the same at all. I'm not saying that. But as someone that has like multiple scripts and things floating around in the back of my head, I need to be doing multiple things in order to get that one thing done. If you're focusing all your time and energy, it might not come out to the most satisfactory thing. Like I need other projects. But also, guys, y'all love the Dark Knight trilogy. Josh likes 2 out of the 3 of them. You do realize that in between every single one of those movies, Christopher Nolan did another movie in between. You had Batman Begins in 2005. In 2006, he made his most criminally underrated movie, The Prestige, and I still love that movie a lot. 2008, he did Dark Knight. 2010, he did his last great movie. Yeah, I said it. His last great movie with Inception, then Dark Knight Rises, then Interstellar, so on and so forth. He understands that he can't burn himself out with superhero stuff. People are allowed to do that. I think the Batman will still probably be on track for 2025 because that would be about 3 years in between Batman movies. That, timeline-wise, makes sense to me because the Tim Burton movies, the original one came out in 1989, and the next one came out in 1992. Like, it's fine to have spacing between your Batman movies. So for everybody that says he should be focusing on the Batman instead, let the man do something else. It's fine. He's a creative individual. I'm all for the Buster Keaton. Please. I like history stuff. I'm becoming a dad, apparently. I want to go watch some naval warship documentaries.
Are you into submarines yet? Have you started wearing New Balances?
So here's the reason why. Here's the reason why Gettysburg was so actually important for the Civil War.
Yeah. No, that checks out.
Hey kids, you want to take a road trip to the site of the Battle of Little Bighorn?
Honestly, yeah, because that would be super wild. Honestly, I've seen maps and pictures of the area. Like that would be so much fun. Are you kidding me? I would love
of course. Now, lastly, for our news, we get Josh's favorite thing to talk about: Friday the 13th. But honestly, this news is like the least shocking news. But at the same time, a little mad at myself about it. I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like for the past couple of years, I've made a prediction every single time of this will be the year that we get a new Friday the 13th movie announced. And I'll have to go back, but in my predictions for this year, I don't think I said anything about a new Friday the 13th movie being announced just because we're getting a new Friday the 13th TV series on Peacock with Victor Miller, the original screenwriter, working on that show along with now Kevin Williamson, the guy who wrote Scream, is apparently working on that show too. Going, okay. I thought we were just going to get the TV series. But given that the reason why we haven't had a new Friday movie in a while is because of the legal battle between Victor Miller and Sean S. Cunningham, well, given that Victor Miller gets a new toy to play with, Sean S. Cunningham is going, well, let me scrounge up the pieces that I do have available to me, and I'll make my own gosh darn Friday the 13th movie. So I'm just going, y'all, can't y'all just agree that you both just want a buttload of money and then just split it like Sony, where one of you gets screwed over, but you still make a lot of money anyway? That's exactly how the Sony-Disney relationship works. So as soon as Victor Miller said that he's doing a TV show, I'm just going, well, only a matter of time before Sean S. Cunningham's going to announce something. But it's tricky just because, like divorced parents, who gets what in this situation here? Like, yeah. You could have a hockey mask wearing guy with a machete. Cool. But he can't be named Jason. Can't go to Camp Crystal Lake. But Josh, you know what that means?
It means that it's going to be the mom.
No, she was in the first one. They legally can't do that. No. Think something else. You could probably have a character just named Jason who attacks people on space stations.
Oh my gosh. If we get like a whole trilogy of like Jason X movies, I might honestly, I might die right there. They're like, there's no way I'm going to be happier.
Just because it'd be a legal loophole, just because could be a technical legal loophole, they just call this movie 13th. Just 13th. No Friday no Jason, just 13th. Just to
like
see
that Friday.
Just tiptoe the legal copyright law as close as humanly possible. Now, I don't know if they've officially greenlit this yet, and I think it's more of like oh yeah, we got to figure out what we can actually do here. But this is always so interesting to me because it's just executives being so petty. Like, yes, should Victor Miller have been compensated for his work on the original Friday the 13th? Sure. But it's weird because so much of what makes the franchise has nothing to do with Victor Miller. So I'm kind of actually all on board with seeing these like Frankenstein projects that could potentially be coming up here. Um Money's no object, creativity completely unbound only by legal restrictions, Josh. What route do you think they should take here?
Well, I wasn't even considering Space Jason, but like that's kind of yeah. Let's just do Jason in different scenarios.
Space
Put
Jace.
Jason, go Predator with him. For some reason, he's in ancient Native America. For some reason, he's fighting the Aztecs or something. I don't know. Just like have like, oh my gosh, the idea of like a time traveling serial killer is kind of horrifying. He just goes to a different time, kills a bunch of people, then dips to another timeline. That's okay. Yeah, that's kind of terrifying. I kind of like that a lot.
But if we had the copyright, I could say he does that because he's going through time trying to find his mom in different time periods.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's
Oh
okay. He's
man.
dead on the inside and outside.
Oh, and outside. I at the end of the day, it's like you said it introducing this. I don't care about Friday the 13th at all.
Okay.
I think slasher movies these days don't work as well as they used to. And I think there's very specific reasons for that. I think just because the market has been so saturated by like 3 or 4 of them and that's it. And like movies like Hush, like we've seen slasher movies that have done it very well and in a very interesting way. So to have it just be like a hack and slash kind of film, even with these new Halloween films, it definitely shows that you can't just have a big dude who's almost unkillable going around slicing people. Like that just doesn't quite hit as hard as it used to, I think.
I think it's also just horror has a big boom in recent years, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just weird to me that we've gotten 3 Halloween movies, but no Friday the 13th movies. Like, this is the longest drought we've ever had for a Friday the 13th
Yeah.
movie. The last one was 2009, so this is the longest drought in a franchise that's known for just pumping them out as opposed to quality. They just prefer the quantity here. It's so sad to me, but funny at the same time of Friday the 13th has 12 movies. It was literally 1 movie away from 13, and Halloween, before the new trilogy came out, was multiple movies behind. And now Halloween caught up to it super quick, and Halloween now has 13 movies in its franchise, and Friday's still stuck at 12.
What if they do like they do a F2O because it's like
Oh,
like a 20 years.
they bring back Kevin Bacon.
Friday
Oh, well, Kevin Bacon, they can't, but still.
why not, man? That'd be so funny is if they go that route. At least to me.
Just because Josh doesn't care and wants to see it all burned down.
Exactly. Give me something entertaining.
You know what's entertaining? Buying Uncharted Media merch. That's what you should do.
Okay.
These segues are just getting worse and worse. But go to the link in the description. Check out Uncharted Media t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, stickers, whatever you want with the Uncharted Media logo, tinfoil hat theory, or other fantastic designs that we've got. Go there, support the show. Also support the show by subscribing to us on whatever platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. And share us with your other movie friends. Subscribe to us on YouTube and spread the word. Help us get to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Now, let's get retro, shall we? Cue the all that music or something like that. Keaton and Kel music. As we're going to talk about the glorious time that is the 90s. An incredibly mixed bag for movies. Don't pretend like it's all great. 90s has some greats, as we'll discuss here. We also had Godzilla 98. And It's Pat and Space Jam, which, yeah, I'll die on the hill that Space Jam's not nearly as good as y'all remember it is, except for the Larry Bird joke. I will always laugh at Um, what about Larry? He's white. No, Larry's clear. Like that? Okay. That'll always make me laugh.
It's a
That
great
movie does
show.
not hold up as well as you think. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be looking at one movie as more or less the best movie from every year in the 90s. So starting with 1990, going all the way up to the very packed year that was 1999. We'll kind of say the other movies that came out that year to kind of give you a gauge of, oh, yeah, that also came out. I would have preferred if you had this on your list instead because you all are idiots. Or in some of the cases, wow, this year didn't have as many good movies as I thought. So at least for my list, I tried to put things for the most part that I had seen. There's like one or two that I have not, but by and large, most of these I have seen. So
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's definitely like I put a bunch of movies in each section just to kind of give some context, but like the ones I'm picking, I definitely like I have to be able to I've say that I've seen them. So like I can't be like, oh yeah, The Godfather is fantastic. Like, but like I've never seen The Godfather, so no point in that kind of thing
also the only
situation.
Godfather that came out in the 90s was Godfather Part 3, and that
That's
is on no
that's the
one's
point.
best. That is
I
on
know,
no
but
one's
like that
best of the
I
year.
was just that's why I was just using that as an example, okay?
Also, to clarify, we're putting forward the best movie of the year, not our favorite. So, as much
Yeah.
as Men in Tights is the most perfect movie that has ever been created, it is not the best movie that came out in 1993. Josh is going to fight me on that, but there's some
I'm
better
gonna
options.
no, because yeah, because that if it hadn't come out in '93, I think you could make the argument. Like if it came out in like I don't know
92?
'92,
Yeah, if it came out in 92, it
you,
would be the
you
winner,
could make the
probably.
argument. But like at '93 is got some bangers, dog. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's jump into this.
Yeah, let's start at the very beginning. It's a good place to start. With 1990. This thankfully was still one of those times that Josh and I weren't around quite yet. But for honorable mentions of things that also came out this year, but it wasn't my pick for the best movie of the year. You got Kevin Bacon's Tremors. Good time.
Mm,
Another one of those horror franchises that Kevin Bacon sticks around for the first one and then dips the rest of the franchise. Sean Connery's Hunt for the Red October. What I
classic.
imagine will be somewhere on Josh's discussion, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Honestly, one of the greatest comic book adaptations of all time. I love it, but probably not the best. Um, The Exorcist 3, one of the most underrated horror movies I've ever seen. I think Exorcist 3 is it's pretty good. Home Alone,
Yeah, first one on this.
one of the most overplayed Christmas movies in my house. My dad
Agreed.
loves the first two, and I think they're good, but at the same time, I don't need them on a loop. TBS, that and Elf.
Why not? Why not?
And then lastly, for my honorable mentions of that's a banger. Rescuers Down Under.
Dude. Oh, okay. It was so hard to not sit here and look at that movie and go, yeah, that's the best movie this year. I can't like, but like, because it is so good. Like I could go on a
Bird
whole
flying
tangent.
scene is
It's
beautiful.
beautiful. The movie is gorgeous. It's one of those like, wait, this is hand drawn. There's no way. Like, get out of here. But like that was also the year that Night of the Living Dead came out. Like Goodfellas, Pretty Woman, Lord of the Flies, Dances with Wolves, Edward Scissorhands. Like, God, like this is like some like I won't say obviously like those are not necessarily quote unquote bangers unless you're part of like very specific kind of niches in the film world. I mean, Misery came out that year too. So,
Ooh,
jeez.
the original
All
Ankle
right.
Breaker.
Yes. I'm good. Thank you though.
But what was your
uh,
best of 1990, Josh?
1990 is hard for me because I think the Hunt of Red October is good, but it is kind of boring for the most part. Dances with Wolves is fantastic as a prequel to the Avatar series. Um,
Had to make that joke.
I've been sitting on that joke. Night of the Living Dead, I think, is only, and this is going to be hard to say. I think it's really, really good in retrospect because if you have to be like, oh wow, like what they were able to do with the technology they had is impressive. I think there's a lot of good choices, like Back to the Future 3.
That's not a good
Um,
choice.
no, it's not. Only because, and I'm only doing it this year. I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has to go for me, just because
I
yeah,
knew it.
it has to, because it's held up over time. I mean, for the most part, uh, it's the best comic book adaptation up to date. I think the way that the quality drops from the first one to the others is so significant. It's so noticeable that it, to me, makes it so it is probably, to me, one of the best movies of that year.
It's because they got rid of Judith Hogue as April O'Neil. That was the reason.
Dude. Oh, okay. Sorry. You sent me that video. I watched it the other day. Holy crap. Like, a lot of the stuff they were saying, I was like, I never noticed this. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is actually really dark, and I wish they had leaned into it all the way.
Right? It actually is a lot like the comic. So,
It is.
my best movie in 1990. So, you notice a trend. When I talk about honorable mentions, I will purposely leave out what I put as my best
Obviously.
movie of the year. And I don't see a lot of people putting this movie in their best movie of 1990 list, just because since I wasn't around, I don't know how this movie did at the box office. But if you want to get to my soul, tell me that you're going to have a dramatic Robin Williams performance, and I'll be there in a heartbeat. Robin Williams, and I believe it was Robert De Niro in Awakenings. So
Oh.
basically, it's the true story of this doctor that works at this like clinic or whatever with a whole bunch of comatose patients, and for one summer they all come out of their coma or catatonic state and just are awake and interacting with people, and then at the end of the summer they go back to their catatonia
Catatonic
catatonic
state.
state. But Robin Williams does a beautiful, subdued, nervous portrayal. I just like Robin Williams flexing his dramatic chops, and I think he's so good in this. I had to
Agreed.
watch it for school, and it was so good. And I was like, this movie does not get nearly enough love. And I think comparing it to the rest of the things that I have seen that came out in 1990,
Agreed.
I think this is one that deserves more love, and it probably would be the best movie that I've seen from 1990.
Yeah, and like people often will put like Goodfellas up there. I haven't seen Goodfellas, so I don't know. I'm also not a big, because that's the Goodfellas is the Quentin Tarantino one,
No, that's
right?
Scorsese.
Okay. Either way, haven't seen it, can't talk about it. But it's really funny to think about the polar opposites of our best movies. Yours is like this really serious drama with Robin Williams. His mind's about turtles.
Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Oh,
And then the
dude.
terrifying Donatello opening his mouth to an abyss where you can see the guy inside the suit and going,
Oh, dude,
oh.
the HD remake did not help that movie at all.
I really want the original Ninja Turtles available in 4K just because it's one of my favorite movies as a kid. That being said, at the same time, I don't think I want it in 4K because
I don't think you do.
I don't need to see Kino in the Donatello suit because yes, Kino from Ninja Turtles 2 is one of the actors in the Turtles suit in the original movie. Now,
Yep.
fast forwarding to 1991, Josh, had you been introduced to the world yet at this point?
No, we still got another year.
Okay, cool. 1991, slightly better year for movies. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, you know, the one that will get made fun of later. Underrated Disney movie, The Rocketeer, also known as the Captain America prequel. They're very similar, directed by the same guy, nonetheless. Terminator 2, Judgment Day. One that will not be on Josh's list, but screw it. I don't care if most people hate this movie. Bill and Ted Bogus Journey, the second one. I actually like I like Bogus Journey more than Excellent Adventure, actually. An American Tale, Fievel Goes West. Just
such a banger.
Chef's kiss. Beauty and the Beast. And last from my honorable mention for me, Hook.
Yeah.
Which it rattled my brain when I got older and realized the critics didn't like Hook, and I'm just going, wow, suck a fat one. You're wrong. But also, if there's one thing that's wrong with Hook, it is a little too long. It is a very long movie. But other than that, Hook is magnificent, and your inner child is dead, movie critics.
Yeah, that is something that like I've never understood why they didn't like Hook, because like they love those like really like heartfelt, like
whimsical,
fantastic and whimsical like adventure movies, and it's been a while since I've watched it, so maybe I need to go back and rewatch. But it has nothing but good memories for me. I mean, like Father of the Bride came out that year. Once Upon a Time in China, Boys in the Hood, Addams Family. The first Addams Family movie came out that year. Dude, there's so many good movies that came out that year.
I wouldn't be surprised though if we have the same best movie. What is your best movie 91?
Well, it's not Point Break. It's the Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, there it is.
Silence of the
Our
Lambs.
first lined up movie.
Dude, it is easily one of my favorite movies, I think, of all time. It consistently, it's one of those I can always watch. It's not, even with knowing all the twists and the plots, everything, you just get engrossed in Jodie Foster's performance. Engrossed. But like literally everybody's acting their butts off. Like Buffalo Bill is both terrifying but fascinating at the same time. It hits all of the notes of like mystery and true crime and like in drama. It's so good. Couldn't speak about it enough and sing enough praise about it.
It's one of the few times that Josh will actually probably agree with the Academy because this did win the Academy Awards that year, and everyone's going, see, the Academy does like horror. I'm like, oh, really? Name another horror movie since The Silence of the Lambs that has won Best Picture. But also, don't know if I would count The Silence of the Lambs as a horror movie. I'd count it as a thriller more than anything else. Talk to me when Halloween gets nominated. I love Silence of the Lambs so much. Everyone's performances are great, but even then, like, just that surface level enjoyment. But then as I get older and I appreciate more like proper film technique of like when Clarice first meets Hannibal, he keeps looking down and she's looking up, and like it's clearly in a metaphorical sense, Hannibal has the high ground, but by the time that scene is over, they're staring at each other at eye level because Hannibal sees her now as an equal and just going, oh, it's so beautifully done.
Dude.
But like it's a female empowerment movie without blatantly beating it over your head, of like they do it in such a good subtle way of like when she's doing like the police warm-ups and whatnot, and she's the only woman in the elevator, and like she's got like this uncomfortable stance to her, and all the like superiors are like somewhat flirting with her, and it's a little awkward. Like they call attention to it enough, but that's never the overriding thing. And also the greatest twist of all time when they show up to the wrong house. It was so good they used it in Prisoners.
Got him.
It just Silence of the Lambs is so good. If only they didn't make crappy sequels and prequels to it. Like, don't ruin its legacy, people.
Apparently, the Hannibal show is really
good. I wasn't talking about
That's
Hannibal.
what
I was
I've
talking
heard.
about like Red Dragon and Hannibal, the movie.
Oh God, yeah. Ugh.
Now we're in Josh's year.
Man. May 5th of this year is when I came to be. I entered this world nice and early.
He was just so excited to be here for the crappy movies of 92.
It's so great, man. I'm just as bald as I was then.
He knows just as much too.
Woo! Okay. Let's talk. I have not seen there's the amount of movies I haven't seen that movie. It was like actually insane. Like Basic Instinct, Malcolm X, A League of Their Own, Patriot Games. Like it was really funny going through like the stuff that was released in 92, but it was like, oh, Fern Gully, Three Ninjas, oh yeah, Sister Act, Muppet Christmas Carol, all right.
What any other
2, which is in my opinion better than the first one.
Thank you. I will agree with you all day because Tim Curry.
Fantastic. I mean, Lethal Weapon 3 is not my favorite of the series, but like it's a thing that happens in this during this time.
So, my honorable mentions, I have A Few Good Men, one of the greatest courtroom drama movies of all time, which isn't A Few Good Men. It's My Cousin Vinny instead. And
I love My Cousin Vinny so much.
But also, like, My Cousin Vinny is actually, like, people have done, like, actual studies on this. My Cousin Vinny is, like, the most accurate courtroom scene in movie history of, like, how they do legal proceedings is spot on for some reason in My Cousin Vinny, and it's so wonderful.
It's so good.
Like, My Cousin Vinny is It's so enjoyable. A Few Good Men, My Cousin Vinny, Unforgiven, and what I think is one of the best horror movies of that year, the original Candyman. I really, really
Mhm.
like that one. Really wish the new Candyman was better, but that original Candyman I still think is probably one of the best and like horror movies in terms of like, okay, yeah, you have a political message with it, but it works so well with the narrative that you've crafted. It it's show not tell, and I don't think you get that
Yes.
enough in with your political commentary in movies. They beat you over the head with it as opposed to literally just showing you it and immersing you in it. You feel it more. Candyman is just
Yeah.
so well done. Um,
Agreed.
but my
I'm curious.
best,
Yeah. What's your best?
just oh man, almost gave it to Candyman, but at the end of the day, I'm a sucker for Robin Williams, so it's got to be Aladdin
Okay. I had a
because
feeling. I had a feeling.
because Aladdin, like, come on, it's
It's
only gotten
super
better with
good.
age. Like the animation is still incredibly crisp from everything we've heard. Half the animation in that movie was not supposed to happen, but Robin Williams,
Mhm.
improv stuff. So the animators are just going, dude, we super hate you right now. We have to animate so much more stuff. Robin Williams is perfect. Straightforward story. It was. I know a lot of attention gets put on Beauty and the Beast the year before because I believe Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture. Um, Aladdin, I feel like doesn't always get the same like love as some of those other that stupid one with the redhead that I'm not even going to dignify with a response. That one for starting everything back in I think 89 or 90, and then no, it had to been 89 because you didn't mention 90. Then Beauty and the Beast. I think Aladdin needs more love, and I think for me at least, for the movies that I have seen, it's probably my pick for the best of 92.
Especially that year, yeah. And that's why the Mighty Duck. No, I was gonna say the first Mighty Ducks, which is a great movie, by the way. It's
True.
fantastic. It's a lot of fun. Um, I'm actually also gonna say Aladdin.
There you go.
Well, because I love like Home Alone 2, My Cousin Vinny, A Few Good Men is a fantastic movie, but Aladdin just stands the test of time. I think it still is one of those that it is, as much as I hate this word, it is timeless. It is something we can go back to no matter what your age, and still enjoy and pull new things from it. Like it took me until high school to realize that like why the parrot is named Iago. Like I was like, oh yeah, I was like, it's a Shakespeare thing. All right, cool, got it. All right. But like it is easily one of the best movies, especially those early Disney films. Like Beauty and the Beast is good. There's some other ones that are fine, but like yeah, the Aladdin is just like the best thing that year to me of the movies that I've seen, obviously.
So now it is my year of 93,
Hey,
which is actually an even better movie that year I think than 92. But also has like a lot of
dude,
like the seminal movies for a lot of 90s kids. So movies like Groundhog Day, The Sandlot,
dude,
the greatest
dude.
movie of all time, Robin Hood Men in Tights, which is not only better than the original movie with Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, it actually has a Robin with a real British accent in it, therefore making it better. Had to
I
bring that
love that joke.
had to bring that in. Every dad in America's favorite movie for a stretch of time there, The Fugitive with Harrison
Which
Ford.
is,
Dude.
to be fair, a fantastic movie.
Oh yeah, it
It's
absolutely is.
so
But
good.
for some reason, like as a kid growing up, I always remember asking my dad, "What's your favorite movie?" And then he would always like and then I think he would always kind of settle on, "I really like The Fugitive." Like, yeah, that sounds right. Um, Mrs. Doubtfire again.
Dude.
Robin Williams was everywhere in our childhood. Schindler's List. No, it is not my top pick for 93. Schindler's List. And number 2, just missing the cut, unfortunately. Mask of the Phantasm.
Okay, I was wondering. I was like, there's no way that we get out of this without talking about Mask of the Phantasm. I
Yeah.
mean, because like, I mean, this is yeah, Mask of the Phantasm is fantastic. That wild dinosaur movie, We're Back, happened that year.
Oh, it was that this year.
Yes. Tombstone, Sleepless in Seattle, The Nightmare Before Christmas was that year.
I
Like,
was counting good
dude,
movies.
fair.
I will
Fair,
die
fair,
on
fair.
the hill that Nightmare Before Christmas is one of the most overrated movies in cinematic history this side of Hocus Pocus.
Groundhog Day, which misses the cut for me. It's good. It's so good. I remember having my mind blown in high school watching that for the first time, being like, what in the world? I have a feeling I know what your top one this year is, but it will not be mine, I think. So I'm curious to see what yours is.
Let me have my piece. Mask of the Phantasm is still the best Batman movie of all time, even with the Pattinson one. Mask of the Phantasm is still perfection. But every kid in the 90s had a dinosaur phase because of Jurassic Park.
That's fair.
Yes, the dinosaurs are cool, but it's just a really, really well-crafted movie. Like, you watch it as a kid, yay! Big scary monster ate lawyer man on toilet. It's funny. Now you watch and you're just like, hey, Dr. Grant actually, you know, has a story arc with not liking kids and then having kids thrust upon him with a child that is literally invulnerable, that cannot die, even though he got electrocuted and thrown off a wall. Like, yay, Dr. Grant has an actual arc, and Jeff Goldblum is freaking weird in that movie. The older I get, the more I'm just like, you're on some lists, aren't you?
I love how weird he is.
It's weird to me that he's like, you got any kids? Oh yeah, I got kids. I'm just like, that you're actually aware of? Like, you're allowed with children? Malcolm, you're a weird character. Like,
you are
enigmatic. Like, I can't not look at you, but like, I don't know if I trust you.
They don't acknowledge that he has kids ever again.
Yeah, they do. Ever. Yeah, they do. They do.
When?
Jurassic Park 2, his daughter's on the island with him.
That doesn't. Okay, cool. Blah, blah.
Because remember, she didn't make the acrobatic team. Why do I remember Jurassic Park 2?
That's fair. Okay, but objectively, what's eating Gilbert's grape is better.
What's eating Gilbert grape? No. Not Gilbert's grape. Every time. That's just a weirdly specific thing with this.
That people thought that Leonardo DiCaprio was actually mentally handicapped. Like, it is a really, really good movie, and I will fight anybody that says that it's not.
Yeah. Moving on. In 1994. I feel like this is a very like mixed bag across the board of like, there's some really good stuff, but varied in terms of what the movies are about. I'm sure this will be high on Josh's list somewhere, but The Crow, yes, yes,
I love it. I love The Crow.
I know you do. So do I. Keanu Reeves is Speed. I really, really enjoy Speed. The movie that honestly fought a lot with my top contender, and for a lot of people, especially 90s kids, they probably would put this at their top movie, but it's like 1.5. The Lion King, just barely missing the cut, and it makes me sad that I have to put it there, not at number 1, but it makes sense. Forrest Gump. I know you won Best Picture, Forrest Gump, but you absolutely did not deserve it. You are good, but not great. You're not so far as to say Crash levels of undeserving, but some other movies that came out in 94 definitely deserved it more.
Yeah.
We also have Angels in the Outfield, and
which is, God, that was like looking through this list, like, oh, apparently all I can say is
rebooting, Josh.
What
you need the 90s dial-up sound there.
Yeah. Sorry, like, what a walk down like memory lane. Like, for me though, like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Dumb and Dumber, the Little Rascals, The Jungle Book, the one that terrifies Nathan.
Why do you think I didn't mention it in honorable mentions? Thanks, Jason Scott Lee.
Dude, it's not my favorite, but Maverick with Mel Gibson is like wildly good, and I don't understand why it's that good. Also, Stargate movie came out that year. That was a
Yeah,
thing that happened.
and I'll be one
Um,
of the weird people that say I prefer the show over the movie by a wide
no,
margin.
I don't think you're that weird. I think
Hey man,
that's
it lasted for 10 seasons. It's got 2 spin-off shows with Atlantis
dude.
and um
I don't care who you are.
SGU.
As oh, get out of here. Atlantis is so good. It gave us Momoa.
Jason
Okay?
Momoa, man. He's like a
Give us our
Pokemon.
boy.
Jason
Give
Momoa's
us
a
our boy.
Pokemon, man. He evolved. He started on Baywatch, then he was on Stargate Atlantis, then he was Conan, which is a king who is a warrior, and then he became
Yep.
Khal Drago, who is a king over the Sea Nation, and then he became Aquaman. He's literally a Pokemon that was allowed to evolve over time. It's the coolest thing. And now he's going to take the next stage of evolution and just be the main man, Lobo. Mark our words.
I guarantee it, especially after that meeting.
Oh, yeah.
I think Forrest Gump would be higher if it had aged better. I think watching it nowadays, it has not aged well.
Jenny especially.
Content-wise. The more and more I think about it, yeah, Jenny looks worse and worse and worse. Forrest, you could have done so much better. But yeah, and like, I hear you, people that love Quentin Tarantino. Pulp Fiction came out in '94, and
that's not what I'm talking about.
We're looking at good movies here, so
I'm not talking about Pulp Fiction.
No, I know you're not. I already know what your I already know what your number one is.
Of course I do, because I have a pulse. But no, I have one more honorable mention that I have not mentioned yet. My favorite Tim Burton movie of all time. I know some people really like Batman or some other. It's not Willy Wonka. Tim Burton's Ed Wood, starring Johnny Depp.
Really?
I love Ed Wood because it feels so not Tim Burton, but Tim Burton at the same time. I like the Academy as much as I bagged on him earlier in this episode. I also like movies about movie making, but also I like movies about bad movie making, like The Disaster Artist or Ed Wood, because it shows it's just like just getting out there and making something, even if it's bad, is better than having the greatest idea of all time that you don't do. Like, even if it's bad, you made it. And we've all been in there. Like, I would not recommend it, but the early days of Uncharted Media stuff, back when it was Movie Guy 17, there's a lot of figuring stuff out. But that's half the fun of creating stuff, is the figuring stuff out. I like movies where they figure stuff out. And Ed Wood is, we're going to make really, really crappy horror movies while also paying homage to an actor that was a big part of the early days of horror cinema. I love Ed Wood. Actually, there's a movie that we'll talk about later today that might be my favorite Tim Burton movie, but I'm not sure. It's either this or a movie later. I love Ed Wood. But because it's 1994, there's a movie that should have won the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it's like it's the best movie that year, I think.
It's just the best movie. Okay, I'm saying it now. It's the best movie of the 90s wholesale, primarily because this movie is often in the conversation for, like, best movie of all time. I put it in my Mount Rushmore, probably. I don't know if it's my number one, but it's up there for top 4, or if Mount Rushmore, had a 5 spot. It's gotta be The Shawshank Redemption. This movie is as close to perfection as you can possibly get. Like, I love The Shawshank Redemption so much. It is so beautifully acted. It toes that tough line of really, really dark and depressing while never fully losing hope. It's Andy Dufresne in the pit while having a little slit of light every once in a while is a perfect analogy for the movie, because even in its darkest moments, there's still a little bit of hope that pops in. Like, Andy never fully loses hope. And I'm going to do the video eventually, I swear, of Holes and The Shawshank Redemption are literally just the exact same movie, like verbatim. That's probably why I love both of them. Shawshank Redemption is genuinely just one of the best made and best acted movies I've ever seen in my life. I don't have words. It's The Shawshank Redemption. If you've seen it, you know. Shawshank is just, this is a list of the best made movies, the best overall. The Shawshank is often in the running for just best movie, period. So of course it was going to do for 94. And the Academy, you gave it to Forrest Gump over the Shawshank Redemption. Again, you also gave Crash Best Picture winner, but whatever.
Yeah, like it this year would have been easy with movies like Miracle on 34th Street, which is my favorite Christmas movie of all time. The Crow is this year, but like The Shawshank Redemption is easily one of the top 5 best movies ever made, period. So well acted, so well shot, edited, cinematography, story, everything about Shawshank Redemption is as close to perfect as you can get. I mean, at no point are you ever like not rooting for Andy. I think even at the time when you're like there's a moment where you as the audience are kind of given this like, how do I say this like almost this decision that you have to make of like, okay, do I root for Andy even though we as the audience are not sure if he actually killed his wife and her lover. They joke about now everybody's innocent. I don't know what you're talking about, but like I love that as the audience you were given that choice of, despite us not knowing whether or not that was the truth, you can still root for him, and the more you get to know him, the more Andy causes you to root for him, and the more you want him to get out, or not even just to get out, but to grow and to like help the people around him. Like it easily still to this day when he teaches that kid to pass the GED
Yeah,
test.
Zero.
Yeah. What?
Zero from
get out of
Holes.
it. Oh, I got.
Yeah, he teaches Zero from Holes.
Yeah. Anyway, like when they kill him, I was like, I don't know if I've ever been so heartbroken. Not just like betrayed that like, oh, the warden's doing bad things, but also like, no, like I can't imagine what that would do to Anne. Like it is such a good movie. It obviously I can't recommend it enough. There's a lot of stuff that happens that I don't think the movie could be for everyone, depending on certain triggers, but like genuinely one of the top 5 movies of all time.
Now we move on to 95, which is
Gosh, dude.
a much harder year.
It is.
Harder just in terms of, wow, gonna hit this really weird like Hollywood blockbuster or bust type of phase for the next couple of years here of like, you better be a big explosive blockbuster that you have to check your brain at the door to enjoy. However, as soon as I saw the year 1985, I'm going, oh, yep, I know what my favorite movie of that year is. It's gonna be pretty easy for me. Everyone else can go home now. But honorable mentions real quick. Tommy Boy, just because we have to mention Tommy Boy somewhere.
It's so good.
Braveheart, Apollo 13, The Usual Suspects, and what created one of the greatest N64 classic video games of all time, GoldenEye. Josh, do you have any other honorable mentions?
Oh, dude, so many. I mean, Jumanji was in 95, Ace Ventura, Clueless, Rumble in the Bronx, Babe. Are you kidding me? Babe.
Okay.
Babe. The first
Babe, directed by Mad Max Fury Road director George Miller.
It's just so wild. Seven, Bad Boys, there's Indian in the Cupboard, Balto. Oh, so many.
Balto hasn't aged as well as you think it has.
I know, but it's got a place in my heart. Okay.
Is Balto the one with Phil Collins?
It might
as one of his sidekick friends.
It might be. I don't know. Balto, that Balto's the one with the goose, and when he gets scared, he's like, I got people bumps. Like, that's hilarious. Get out of here. I don't want to hear. But I think both of we have the same best movie that year. I think I wouldn't be surprised.
Phil Collins is in Balto.
No way.
He's
okay.
Luck and Muck.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No,
I don't know why I instantly knew that, but here we are.
And Bob Hoskins plays the goose. Also, a big 90s person. No, when it comes to 95, it's Toy Story or bust. Come on, people.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
the first Toy Story, one, you will never tell me otherwise because it was the first movie I ever saw in theaters. So every other movie, get out of the way, because what you see here is a result of that one experience. So create your own new relationship with Toy Story based off that information if that makes you angrier or happier. I don't know. Well, there's probably a bunch of movies that shaped this into this mess, but Toy Story is the foundation to which all other film knowledge for me was built upon. So there's no way it wasn't going to be the best. But also, as I get older, minus the animation limitations of the time, like not being able to blink, they can only wink because they couldn't time it up properly. The movie still holds up incredibly well. And also, if you watch it now, it is an all-star lineup of someday will be big. Of, yeah, you had John Lasseter as the director, but also like Andrew Stanton, who would go on to do a whole bunch of Pixar stuff. There's a whole bunch of people that, like, after Toy Story did the next Pixar movie, and then the next Pixar movie, then the next Pixar movie. It was a whole group of like think tank of people doing stuff together. I feel like Brad Bird worked on Toy Story. Steve Jobs is a producer on the movie. It was written by Joss Whedon.
Yeesh.
Which say what you want about the man, but for a time there, he was actually a good, credible writer. Now we can all go ew together, but for a while there, he was viewed as a good writer.
Yeah,
kind of like Jeff Johns. And then you're like, ay. But the first Toy Story has aged so well. It's written so well. I'm just happy that when I see Toy Story, I don't hear Tim Allen and Tom Hanks. I hear Woody and Buzz.
yes.
With a lot of animated movies now, you just hear the celebrity. You don't hear the character. There's a few exceptions. Steve Carell in Despicable Me, Jack Black as Poe. I don't think I necessarily hear them. I hear the character. But Justin Timberlake in Trolls, you just hear Justin Timberlake in that. Like, but at least with Toy Story, I hear the characters, and I love the characters so much. I think Toy Story will always be like one of the best movies I've ever seen, and that's a totally non-biased opinion whatsoever, but it holds up, and it will still, to me, always be the best Pixar movie, except for, maybe Toy Story 3, just because. Poof.
Yeah, because I mean, even 2 is really, really good. We'll get to that eventually.
2 is probably underrated nowadays.
I agree, but like, yeah, Toy Story, absolutely the best the best movie of 1995. Showed what you could do with CGI or computer animation as opposed to hand drawn. Showed that you could tell a very interesting and like an interesting story, something that could be really emotional, which was not something that was really thought that you could do. So like almost just on if it was only like a groundbreaking film, only on that basis alone, it's already the best movie of that year. But like, it is easily one of the most influential movies of our generation. If you grew up on Disney and Pixar. So I don't think it's even a competition as far as that year of what possibly could be the best movie that year.
Now we move on to 1996.
Let's go.
Another one of like, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of random movies.
Yeah.
You get Happy Gilmore. Honestly, probably my favorite Adam Sandler movie. I really enjoy Happy Gilmore. And then, not even joking, my favorite Muppet movie of all time, Muppet Treasure Island. Boom shakalaka. Fargo, Mission Impossible. Also, I don't know if this is a bragging right or you probably have clear issues, but almost every song in Muppet Treasure Island I could sing word for word. Professional Pirate, that is a jam. Like,
that doesn't surprise me at all, though. That's definitely like that tracks for you.
I have the CD I found at a secondhand store a few years ago. I'm like, I need this. I need to make sure I have this memorized. As my love of Treasure Island, Tim Curry, and sometimes the Muppets. But yeah, Muppet Treasure Island to me is still Muppets best movie. Fargo, the first Mission Impossible movie, The Rock, starring everyone's favorite beautiful person, Nicolas Cage, Independence Day, and the live action 101 Dalmatians, starring Dr. House and Arthur Weasley in their greatest roles of all time.
It is still that movie is actually like very interesting and is held up very well. It's a lot of fun.
You have like Academy Award winning Glenn Close giving 150% as Cruella DeVille, but also like, I'm sorry, but Mr. Weasley and Dr. House are still always going to be the best things about this movie, as was like Horace and Boris or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, but like also like James and the Giant Peach came out that year, which is wild. Matilda,
Jasper,
Swingers.
and Horace.
Okay. From Dusk Till Dawn for you horror history aficionados, those people that like from Dusk Till Dawn. I'm not one of them. And you know, Nate's favorite movie, Space Jam, came out in '96.
Oh yeah, that was 96. For some reason I think of 95, but yeah, 96 makes more sense.
Yep. So I think I know yours.
Do you?
Actually, now that you've said that, I don't know.
What do you think it is?
I think it's Scream.
Okay. Yeah, it's Scream, but here's why. Here's why Scream is my best movie in 96. Lack of options. I'll be honest. I'm looking at this going like, yes, Muppet Treasure Island is a masterpiece. But from a technical standpoint, Scream is probably a little bit better made. Which do I enjoy more? Oh, Muppet Treasure Island, because Tim Curry's complaining about only getting one song. And he's great. Which do I enjoy more? Independence Day or Scream? Independence Day. But is Independence Day necessarily the best made movie in 86? Oh, absolutely not. Not at all. Like, no Roland Emmerich movie has ever been accused of having a good, logical storyline. Like, they're all exactly the same. The nerdy character has the one piece of information that could save the world from some big catastrophe. And am I talking about Stargate, Independence Day, Godzilla, Moonfall? I don't know. Day After Tomorrow? They're all the same movie. They're all disaster pieces.
They are. You mean to tell me that Jingle All the Way wasn't your favorite movie that year?
These cookies, they're to die for.
So
you mean
good.
You don't want to see Arnold Schwarzenegger fighting WCW Big Show?
I mean, to be fair, Jingle All the Way is a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm with you. There's not a whole lot of options. So I went with one that came out that year that has aged like a fine wine. The Hunchback of Notre Dame came out that year. Disney's Hunchback came out that year. And that movie is way more gorgeous than it has any right to be. I can see Nate not enjoying my pick whatsoever. But I don't like Scream, and I don't think I get what it's done for the horror genre, but like, yeah, it's definitely a lack of options here. So we'll do something a little different, I guess.
I really don't enjoy Hunchback.
Really?
I don't enjoy Hunchback. I think there's a very good reason why Hunchback bombed in theaters. Like, it did not do well. Because you have like
outside of it being like marketed to kids but being too dark for kids.
Yes. Hey kids, you wanna hear this song about a horny old man that's gonna go to hell? You wanna enjoy your Burger King toy? Because that was the weird time that like McDonald's got that Disney got Burger King, and now it's like switched around and whatnot. Back in the day, man, Happy Meals used to have great toys. I'm saying that as like a grumpy old curmudgeon. Moving on to 97, I'm not going to pretend like it gets better. 97 is another weird year for movies of, we like our big bombastic blockbusters, which is why that is exactly not what I have for my best movie of the year.
Oh, dude. I don't know about you, but like some of my favorite movies, the more I made this list, some of my favorite movies as a kid came out in 97. Like The Borrowers, Mouse Hunt.
The Borrowers is legit.
Yeah.
Mouse Hunt is not.
Airbud came out in 97. Are you kidding
That
me?
terrified me as a kid. That clown, man.
I bet.
He needs to be
Also,
kept
the
away
first
from schools.
the first Bean movie came out in 97, and that is just like the one of the best things. Also, you're gonna sleep on George of the Jungle? Come
Okay,
on.
George of the Jungle is in my honorable mentions because, as I talked about in the pod a few months ago when I rewatched it, it holds up. That humor is so good, and I appreciate Brendan Fraser doing all the like celebrity tours now to promote The Whale.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on the Graham Norton show with Michelle Williams, who was in The Fablesman, and apparently The Fablesman has one of the same monkeys that worked with him on the set of George of the Jungle, and
That's
he's just like,
wild.
that douche. I hated that monkey. Like, it's so funny. And he's just like, that monkey apparently wanted very specific shots. And when he didn't get the shot he wanted, he would hide up in the rafters away from us. I'm like,
Oh,
that sounds
have you
great.
did you see the actors roundtable where Adam Sandler gets on Brendan Fraser's case for how good of shape he was in good in George of the Jungle? He's like,
Yep.
man, I hated you in that movie. You made us all look like so fat. Like, come on.
Yeah, he's in ungodly shape in George of the Jungle. No, George of the Jungle is great. We'll never disparage that. George of the Jungle's in my honorable mentions. The first Austin Powers, and arguably probably the only good Austin Powers.
Yes. First
Nicolas
Men in
Cage. Yeah, first Men in Black, which I have seen way too much, and if I never see it again, it's probably okay with me. Long story with that. Nicolas Cage with the greatest hair in the world in Con Air with John Cusack,
Dude.
giving us the greatest gif of all time with that turning Nicolas Cage head with the hair blowing in the wind.
Oh man.
George of the Jungle.
With Face Off that year too.
Yeah, that was 97. Ooh. The Cajun
Too
was,
fantastic.
the Cajun
Classic
was
Nicolas
so good
Cage
seasoning wise in 97.
Yes. Yes, it was.
You had Air Force One, arguably the second greatest movie president of all time, besides Bill Pullman in Independence Day the year before. Oh, and then you had Titanic. But the best movie of 97, we're going to gloss over.
But the Fifth Element, there's Hercules, Starship, wow, I can't talk. Starship Troopers, come on.
Are you honestly telling me that those are some of the best made movies of 97? Starship Troopers and The Fifth Element.
Jane.
Oh,
Don't
Will
me,
Smith's coming for you now.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, but what's your? I think I know because there's really only a few options in that year.
I've already said there's a trend here. If you put dramatic Robin Williams in something, and I'm gonna love it. And dramatic Robin Williams, 9 times out of 10, you're probably thinking of Good Will Hunting because it is his best dramatic performance he's ever done. And Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are also in it. Matt Damon is fantastic. Ben Affleck is there. Not disparaging him, but he really doesn't have much of a presence in it. Like, Ben and Casey are just kind of there because they're Matt's friends. They help write the script. That's very important. But in terms of central characters, they're kind of whatever.
They were like in their like early 20s when they wrote like Good Will Hunting, and it is so good.
That make you hate your own life a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. But like, yeah, no, that's why for me too, it is also the number one movie of 1997. Incredible, still holds up to this day. Easily goes up on my Mount Rushmore of movies. Just for like we'll talk day and night about Robin Williams in this film, but I think Matt Damon absolutely deserves some airtime as well. He is like, for someone who was so young and so early in his career, gosh, that guy acted his butt off in that movie. The amount of times that I think about Good Will Hunting is incredible, and I think it's a testament to how good that movie is.
And because we're a film podcast, we have to bring up the fact of, hey, you know, Robin Williams made the cameraman laugh, and so he shook the camera. You know, that wasn't supposed to happen, right? Going, yes, and Aragorn broke his toe kicking the helmet in Two Towers. We know. Like,
what was it? The final line of the movie was improv from Robin.
Stole my line.
Which is, I didn't know that, which was great. So that was really cool.
It's so good. Yeah, Good Will Hunting is just, chef's kiss. Moving on to 1998, and I think Josh and I will once again have the same movie for our final here. 1998 is stacked. You get The Big Lebowski, Mulan, which I love Mulan so much. Also, the first video I ever did, any video production wise, was something Mulan related. Good luck tracking that down. Armageddon, probably Michael Bay's best movie, maybe. Either that or the first Transformers. I love Armageddon, but once again, it's too long. The Mask of Zorro,
Dude.
Halloween H2O, because I had to throw it on there somewhere.
Yeah.
The first Rush Hour, Blade, American History X, and just barely missing the top spot, The Prince of Egypt.
Dude,
Oh,
which is a movie that is way better than it has any right to be.
yeah.
Especially when it would come out coming from the same studio as Shrek.
Which this was back in the day when DreamWorks really didn't have their crap together yet. This was their Ants phase of like, oh, Disney doing a movie called Bugs Life. Rush out a movie called Ants, quick! Shark Tale, like Prince of Egypt should not be to the quality that it is. And Josh and I have talked ad nauseam about the scene, but the burning bush scene is honestly some of the most beautiful music I have ever heard in a movie, and I don't understand how it is so perfect. And then you see, oh, Hans Zimmer. That makes sense.
Yeah, that tracks.
Hans Zimmer speaks God into movies.
But I mean, like, The Truman Show came out that year, which is to me a classic Jim Carrey. It's not one of the best movies of the year, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Mighty Joe Young. That came out that year. Discount King Kong, but somehow more
legally distinct King Kong.
Legally distinct. I just realized how like funny that is. Like, one's King Kong, one is Mighty Joe. God, okay, whatever. But yeah, I think for me there was only one answer when it came to this year. I mean, Prince of Egypt is really, really close because it's really good, has better than any right to be. But Saving Private Ryan is easily the best movie of that year. The most realistic depiction of war there is, and it really still is. I understand it's of a world war that we're almost 100 years removed from right now, but like is still to this day one of the most accurate depictions of what war actually looks like, what the people in war are actually like. I mean, it's got a stellar cast, people that you forget of, like Vin Diesel's in that movie for a little bit. Like there is so much happening in the Saving Private Ryan. I think as a kid, it was the first movie I cried in at the end of it. It was the first movie to like legitimately make me weep. So good. Matt Damon's line at the end, like, I hope I was good enough. So good. Incredible movie.
Which is why it's my number one as well. Yeah, it's absolutely the best movie, 98. I think it won Best Picture for 98 as well, as it should. But yeah, stellar cast, a disturbingly realistic portrayal of war. Like, it's not glossed over at all. It's intense. It's not for everyone. It's very intense and in your face, but I think that's what makes it work so well. But yeah, the ending is always so powerful. It's just one of Spielberg's best, honestly. Yeah. And that's saying something. He's got a lot of stuff to work with, but
yeah, we crap on him quite a bit, but yeah, we
crap more on the more recent stuff.
Fair, because literally I think movies would not be where they are now without Steven Spielberg.
Agreed. And movies would not be where they are now if it weren't for 1999. And I mean that with full sincerity. Like, there has actually been books written about how stacked of a year, movie-wise, 1999 was. So, like, it was hard for me to narrow down what the best movie was because there's so much good stuff in 99. You've got Office Space. You get, believe it or not, my favorite rom-com of all time, 10 Things I Hate About You.
So good.
I love 10 Things I Hate About You so much. Why there's a 4K remaster on Disney Plus, I don't understand. It's not really a movie that needs to be high quality, but yet Treasure Planet's still in HD. No, I'm not bitter at all. Why do you ask? Then you get probably the most, it's not the best by any stretch, but probably the most important movie and most influential movie of this year, The Matrix. That was a huge deal. Not the best, though. one of the best adventure movies ever made, and the greatest protagonist in a movie ever, Brendan Fraser in The Mummy. Heck yes. Oh, 99 is so good. A movie that does not deserve the hate that it gets. Star Wars The Phantom Menace. I graduated from kindergarten and saw this movie, and it was beautiful for a kindergartner to see, because heaven forbid a Star Wars movie be targeted towards children. That is okay. That is what they were always intended to be. Hence why they sold toys before the toys were even made. Star Wars is for kids and for merchandising, where the real money for the movie comes from.
Agreed.
Then, also, another highly influential movie, whether you realized it at the time or not, Tarzan. That influenced so much animation style with how they did the vines and whatnot. Also, holds up pretty well. And Phil Collins did not have to go that hard on the soundtrack. Son of Man is honestly one of the best Disney songs ever. Like, that'll lift your spirits so high no matter what. American Pie. It is a comedy that exists.
But very influential nonetheless.
Yeah, very influential. We don't see as many of those raunchy 2000s comedies nowadays, but they were everywhere after American Pie. The Blair Witch Project. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Not for the reasons I thought I would, though, but that also was very, very influential for the horror genre and found footage in general. The first movie that Josh and I ever saw together, Fight Club, which I always thought.
I know what your number one movie is.
Yeah, he probably does. When I saw Fight Club for the first time, I could have sworn the Fight Club was older than 99. I don't know why. I thought it was. But yeah, Fight Club was 1999. The other movie that I think might be my favorite Tim Burton movie, if it's not Ed Wood, Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow. I don't want to sound like one of those like people that's trying to be hip with the kids. But Sleepy Hollow is a vibe, man. It just has it's got an aesthetic that I'm just like, if you were a candle, I would just light and just smell all day long, because Sleepy Hollow is spoopy and I love it. Not spooky, spoopy. And there's a big difference. And Sleepy Hollow is just, inject into my pores.
Yeah.
And then you also have Toy Story 2, which we also briefly mentioned. And then following up one of the greatest movies of all time with Shawshank Redemption, Frank Darabont also just turned around and did The Green Mile, which is also in the conversation for one of the best movies of all time as well.
Yeah. If 99 was anything, it was one of the most influential movie years. I mean, it's like 7 out of 10, but like The Sixth Sense, while it's not like the best movie of the year, it is certainly one of those that definitely kind of opened people's eye. It's like it was definitely an influential movie for horror, like up there with Blair Witch. Lake Placid was that year.
Yeah.
Like there's
Betty White is a murderer.
So many great movies that happened that year. I look on it fondly, but it has not held up well. And the Inspector Gadget movie was that year.
No, it has not held up nearly as well as I held up well.
But since I already know yours, I'll go ahead and say my number one movie for the year has got to be Fight Club. I think it's like looking back on it and like all of the kind of weird like social attachments that have been connected to it now are kind of like diminished its value maybe in a way. But like to me that year, I mean, The Mummy's fantastic. Toy Story 2, easily like one of the most heart-wrenching scenes with Jesse's story. The Matrix is, changed sci-fi as we know it. But Fight Club for me was the one, A, that got you and me to be friends. B, is one of the first movies that I watched as a kid that wasn't like animated, geared towards kids.
Wait, you watched it as a kid?
No. I first saw it with you guys.
Oh,
gotcha.
Gotcha.
For me, that wasn't like an animated movie that wasn't aimed towards kids, and then wasn't like a war movie that my dad was okay with me seeing. So like it was like the first like real interaction cinematically with movies that had darker subject matter. Like I hadn't seen a horror movie up to that point. Like I'd seen maybe some episodes of like Smallville, but like that was like it was my first like real step into like non children oriented movies. And like if that's going to be like your first step, God, what a step. Brad Pitt's acting his butt off. Edward Norton is acting his butt off. I think
Edward Norton was acting in that movie.
I mean, in retrospect,
we hope he's acting. We don't know.
But like the scene that always gets me, and I still don't know why, is the one where he's like quote unquote fighting himself, to like make everybody look stupid. Like, but God, like so many the twists, everything about that movie is incredible to watch. And anybody that's still saying you don't talk about Fight Club, guys, you're missing the point. You're stupid. Shut up.
It's Fight Club is perfect because Jared Leto gets beat up for it.
Yes, he does. It's just
everyone likes to make fun of Jared Leto now, including Teen Titans Go. Wait, no, they beat up Shia LaBeouf, not Jared Leto.
No, they don't. They beat up when they're doing. No,
they beat up Shia LaBeouf.
Joker.
No, they beat up Shia. No, when there's somebody dressed up as Slade and he takes off the mask at Shia LaBeouf, not Jared Leto.
Okay.
Although nowadays, if Teen Titans Go to the Movies made another movie, which they should, they would beat up Jared Leto. If you want to see Jared Leto get beat up in a movie, it's Fight Club.
There's a scene from the show. There's a scene from the show where they're all doing impressions of Jokers, and Robin tries to be Jared Leto's like, what are you doing? Well, stop it. That's gross. You're weird.
But basically, if anybody has listened to this podcast for more than...
I'm not surprised that isn't all,
Josh is just going to tune out now because he already knows. Everyone has already heard the spiel. If anybody even remotely knows movie release dates, you know what's coming now. It's 1999. And believe it or not, I didn't see one of my all-time favorite movies in theaters, and I still haven't, even though I had a chance in college, and I'm still mad that I missed it because in college, it came out with the Iron Giant Signature Edition, and to celebrate it, it was 2 extra deleted scenes, and they were going to re-release it in theaters, and I didn't go, and I'm still mad about it to this day. The Iron Giant is the best movie of 1999. As I get older, I'm just noticing a trend of just like, I really like Boy and His Thing stories. Iron Giant, Ron's Gone Wrong, Big Hero 6. No, that doesn't at all speak to me growing up as an only child and needing friends. No, not at all.
Okay, cool. So you like things that aren't alive, yeah. And so now I have something to like hold over your head, and you can't be like, Josh is a furry. Ha 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 ha.
I don't think that's nearly the same.
Yeah, these things are they equate. They're the same thing. They're the same thing.
Not even close. No, you can make fun of me for liking lonely protagonists. That's also why I like Spider-Man, because he had no friends either. No, Iron Giant, like, it holds up so well. Josh is now broken because of that.
I'm just picturing this whole conversation of like, ha ha, you like lonely people because you're lonely. Ha ha, dude, you look like animals that that are personified. What's wrong with you?
But Iron Giant. Which has some animals, dead deers and squirrels in pants. And Kent Mansley, whatever he is, he works for the government. Can't you tell I've seen this movie once or twice?
Just a few times.
I loved it as a kid. I don't know why I loved it so much as a kid. I know Cartoon Network did that 24 hours of Iron Giant, and I'm pretty sure I just watched like 8 to 10 of those hours. But I just remember watching it over and over again. Now, as I watch it as an adult, it just gets so much better. The animation is beautiful. Honestly, I mean this with full sincerity. It is Vin Diesel's best performance. Like, I mean that with full sincerity, because he has to emote with just his voice, and I prefer Iron Giant over Groot. I love Groot, but he does more with Iron Giant than he does with Groot. But like, as a kid, you're just like, oh, cool. I would love to have a big giant robot. As an adult, you sit back and you watch, it's wrong to kill, but it's not wrong to die. And you just sit there in your existential crisis just going, did your dad go off to war and not come back? Because I swear that is what happened to Hogarth's dad. We never know. I think his dad died in war. Also, that's probably why Josh and I like Treasure Planet. We like lonely protagonists whose dads just disappeared for some reason or died. Iron Giant
became a cyborg.
Also, I think my love of Iron Giant as a kid would foreshadow my love of Superman as an adult because, as
Yeah.
I've stated in a video, Iron Giant is the best Superman movie ever made for a variety of reasons. Um, I just like good protagonists, and I think both the Giant and Hogarth are just wholly pure characters that have this great friendship, but also with a great backdrop of Cold War espionage of, can you really trust anybody? And giant robot things are terrifying because that was the trend of the time of like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Got this great Norman Rockwellian aesthetic. It's Iron Giant is cinematic perfection, and I'm mad at Warner Brothers for hiding it with this marketing campaign, or else it would have done better in theaters. I'm still salty about it. Not as salty as Disney torpedoing Treasure Planet, but we'll get to Treasure Planet when we do 2000s
we'll get
episode.
there. We'll get there. Yeah, easily. Like, it was one of those, like, I was looking at what came out in '99, and I was like, okay. Oh yeah, it's gonna be Iron Giant for him. There's no way it's anything else.
I tried not to have it be Iron Giant for simplicity's sake from going, it can't not be.
Oh, I feel you though. Like, I completely understand. It is a fantastic film. Easily one of it starts to be one of the last great offerings of hand-drawn animation as far as like the 20th century, really. Like,
And that is something that did hurt it at the box office, I think. Was them not knowing what to do with 2D animated.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people just weren't the marketing was terrible. So it's we'll get into that trend apparently now, though, when we get into the 2000s of certain companies just not marketing movies. We don't need to. Well, it'll make its money back. But yeah, this was actually a lot of fun. Like, I actually really enjoyed this. It was kind of wild to sit there and be like, wow, like a lot of the movies I loved came from the 90s. And like, that's easy to say, but like how influential the 90s were. And I think what you and I will see in the early 2000s as well, of how influential like a lot of movies that came out during that time were, how they shaped a lot of their genres going forward.
So more than likely, we've been down this road before, but more than likely next week we'll be talking about James Gunn's DC slate, just because looking at our release calendar, there's not that many days of January left.
Come on, James, what are you doing?
So next week, more than likely, Lord willing, and the James don't rise, and the Gunn don't rise, don't work either.
Nope.
We will be talking about James Gunn's DC lineup and breaking that whole mess down as our main discussion. If for some reason that doesn't happen, we'll go ahead and talk about the best of the 2000s. If we do talk about James Gunn, we'll do 2000s the next week, so that way we can continue down this nostalgia trip, just because this was fun. We'll do more of it, and talking about old movies is fun instead of just talking about the same movies over and over again, like Iron Giant. So, and on that note, what do you guys think? What do you think the best movies of the 1990s are from each year? Let us know down in the comments below. We always like hearing from you guys. And as always, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube. And if you haven't already subscribed to us on YouTube, help us get to 1,000 subscribers. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.